Hi, my name is Darlisha D. Ampert, and for the final exam video discussion, I will be talking about vaccinations, how they work, what many people may disagree with, but what may be true and what may be false as well. I know there's a big debate on whether vaccinations are good for you or if they're not, and why people suggest not to have vaccinations compared to those that are for vaccinations. Me personally, I was originally kind of iffy about vaccinations, specifically the flu vaccine. But after researching and gathering my own information about it, it kind of gave me a different idea, a different perspective on vaccinations. So now I am pro vaccinations all the way. But I want to give you a kind of a breakdown. I'm going to get to what others may have to say about it, and what some of it may be false of what people that do not agree with vaccination. So we'll get on to that. Starting with vaccines, pretty much what they do, they help with our immune system, with immunity against different wide variety of diseases. They point out illnesses such as smallpox, polio, the whooping cough, rubella, and just a lot more than what you can even think of. So these diseases right here, these are actually the ones I named. They are prevented through vaccines. So like polio and smallpox are, if you get those vaccines, they are preventable once you do because it becomes immune. Your body is adjusted to it, so now you are immune to those diseases. I kind of want to give, before I go into the debate on pro vaccines, con vaccines, I kind of want to share a little history on vaccines. So, vaccines have been a part of science as far as research, everything, for a while now, for decades. Um, it actually originated from the Chinese, who use inoculation techniques against diseases such as smallpox roughly around 1000 AD. They There are similar techniques that are used. Those techniques that were originated by the Chinese were used in ancient Africa and also Turkey. The first vaccine promotion in the U.S. was done by Cotton Mather, and he was a Puritan minister. He was an advocate of the smallpox vaccine, and due to a significant breakout of the smallpox. So when he heard of this vaccine, he was like, oh my gosh, I have to try this out and see, is it really true? So the vaccines had evolved in the beginning with Edward Jenner after Cotton Mather. Later on, Edward Jenner, who was an English physician and a scientist, he created the first smallpox vaccine. He created the first smallpox vaccine using cowpox. So what he used was an agent that could defect the smallpox. So later on, he tried this on an 8-year-old boy in 1796, and it ended up working as one of like a test project. So ever since then, vaccines have been updated and have evolved since then, and that's why we have so many people who have used these vaccines, and so many lives have been saved by these vaccines. So they're very, very essential in our everyday life, and I'm gonna get into that. So I looked on a website called World Health Organization, and pretty much they gave me a full thorough breakdown of vaccines, and I seen like a list of questions that a lot of topics that a lot of people have had concerns with, and they kind of did a thorough explanation. So a lot of my information is going to come from the World Health Organization. So starting with my first question, it states, with adequate levels of hygiene, sanitation, and clean water, is there still a need for vaccination? Now, I can agree with this statement, this question, because before I was like an advocate of vaccines, I was like, I'm a clean person, I'm healthy, I have sanitizers everywhere, I sanitize faithfully. Why do I need a vaccine? And I also said because I also have a strong immune system, so I was like, what's the point? But in explanation, vaccines are necessary, and good hygiene, sanitation, clean water, and nutrition are sufficient for stopping infectious diseases. However, if we do not maintain an optimum rates of immunization or herd immunity, it doesn't matter how good your hygiene it is, or if you're drinking the cleanest water, or you sanitize faithfully. Yes, it does help with infectious diseases, but if people are not vaccinated, diseases that have become uncommon, such as whooping cough or polio and measles, it can quickly occur and reappear in the body. So you won't have that immunity that are in those vaccines to help fight against those diseases. So, and that's even with, the cleanest person in the world. No matter how good of a hygiene you are, you can't defeat those diseases if you do not have that vaccination. And as you can see on the screen, whooping cough, before like vaccines, there were over 17,000 deaths, but with vaccine it decreased at most 87%. That's like under 3,000 deaths. Like, they're so essential and beneficial. Like, it's very important to have these vaccines so we can fight off these diseases. And the more vaccinated, especially regularly, the more you can improve your immune system in that case. Next question is, do vaccines provide better immunity than natural infections? Well, vaccines interact with the immune system to produce an immune response similar to that produced by a natural infection, but they don't cause disease or put the immunized person at risk of its potential complications. But in contrast, the price paid for getting immunity through natural infection may consist of a cognitive impairment. So, natural immunity your body, pretty much your body can do so much. It can defend so much, but with an addition of a vaccine, it pretty much gives it an extra strength, extra safety shield from those unwanted diseases. Next question, what is do I need to be protected against influenza through vaccination? This is probably one of the biggest topics that has been discussed, is the flu virus vaccine. Should you or should you not? And this information probably helped me to be pro flu vaccine. But influenza, also known as the flu virus, kills between 300,000 to 500,000 people worldwide every year. That is a lot. A lot. Just from one disease that is preventable, that can be preventable. 300,000 up to 500,000 people every year. That is insane. Pregnant women, small children, elderly people with poor health, and anyone with a chronic condition like asthma or heart disease are at a higher risk for severe infection and death. So if you're in one of those categories, you have a better chance of getting the flu virus, if not without the flu vaccine. Vaccinating pregnant women has the added benefit of protecting their newborn as well as themselves from the flu virus. So it's actually recommended for women who are pregnant to have that flu vaccine so they can have protection against that, and also with their newborn too, because it's so important when you're carrying a child that you do as much as you can to prevent yourself from getting sick, because if you get sick, then the child gets sick as well. So it's recommended for pregnant women to be vaccinated. Seasonal influenza vaccines offer immunity to the 3 most prevalent strands circulating in any given season. It is the best way to reduce your chances of severe flu and of spreading it to others, and have been used for a while, for over 60 years. So with those many cases, there's been a decline in the flu virus, because the vaccines have been so prevalent and has helped so many. Next question is, what preservatives are used in vaccines? So there is an organic mercury compound called thimerosal, and it's added to some vaccines as a preservative. It is safe. Many people is like, okay, mercury is in vaccines. Oh my gosh. But it is safe. It's found to be safe, and the most widely used preservative for vaccines that are provided in multi-dose vaccine vials. So it's in pretty much every vaccine, even measles, smallpox. And there hasn't been no evidence to suggest that the amount of organic mercury used in vaccines possess any health risks. So that is a good thing to know, that even with the organic mercury, there's still no evidence of anything negative happening because of that. My last question, which was kind of new to me because I haven't really heard this comparison, so it was kind of a fun fact for me to know this. But are vaccines associated with autism? I read in 1998 there was a study that raised concern about a possible link between measles, mumps, and rubella, and which was called MMR, the MMR vaccine. And autism was later found to be seriously fraudulent. So, of course, this raised a huge concern amongst many people, especially in medicine and in science. So the paper was was retracted by the journal that published it. So the publication pretty much dropped immunization rates, and a abundant amount of outbreaks of diseases occurred, because after hearing, oh well, there's a chance of autism or autistic behavior, a lot of people were like, okay, no more vaccines. So of course the disease rate went up and the death rate went up as well. However, after doing a lot of research, fortunately there is no evidence of a link between MMR vaccines, the MMR vaccine, and autism or autistic behavior. So after reading all this, I hope this kind of helps with the argument of pro-vaccines. They have, ever since vaccines have been created, have been researched, tested, there has been a significant drop in diseases and illnesses as well. And as you can see from this chart right here, the difference that it makes with just getting a simple vaccine. So that is my take on it, and I hope it was clear and understandable. And I do not mind if you use this video.